On 28 and 29 September 2021, we at Auction House Künker offer the second part of the Axel Tesmer collection in our auction 353. It contains issues of the Prussian kings. We want to tell you by means of the offered coins and medals how Frederick II financed his 7 years' war. Veritati et Justitiae, for truth and justice. Under this motto, the 28-year-old Frederick II took office as King of Prussia on 31 May 1740. In the same year, on 20 October, Charles VI, sovereign of the Habsburg hereditary lands, died. He was succeeded by his 23-year-old daughter, Maria Theresia. Frederick invaded her realm on 16 December 1740 to conquer Silesia. He thus triggered a series of wars that gathered more and more opponents on both sides and almost resulted in the downfall of Prussia. This medal depicts the battlefield of Kesselsdorf, where Frederick ended the Second Silesian War to his advantage. This victory should not conceal the fact that conquering Silesia cost the lives of 400,000 Prussian citizens. This corresponds to about 1/10 of the population at that time. Those who call Frederick II the Great today should not forget the burdens he imposed on his people and his opponents to satisfy his personal ambitions. Among them was one of the worst monetary devaluations of early modern times. In 1750, Frederick had set out to create monetary stability through a comprehensive coinage reform. However, in 1755, he changed his policy. He left the statements to so-called coin entrepreneurs such as Vital Heine Ephraim. These entrepreneurs promised to deliver a fixed seigniorage, enabling the king to plan with his money for state expenditure. In return, they unscrupulously exploited their minting monopoly and became rich. The Ephraim Palace in Berlin, on the edge of the Nikolaiviertel, still testifies to just how rich they were. It is considered one of the most beautiful bourgeois houses in Berlin. Only minimal profits could be made with thalers and Friedrichdors. Fractional coins were more profitable, and Prussian mints mainly produced such coins. They were used for the payment of wages. Every common soldier in Frederick's army received 6 groschens every 5 days, that is 3 1/12 thalers of 2 groschens. 1/12 thalers were minted in all Prussian mints. They can be distinguished by the mint mark: A for Berlin, B for Breslau, C for Kleve, D for Aurich, I for Königsberg, F for Magdeburg, G for Stettin. Frederick and his coin entrepreneurs did not do big business until Prussia gained control of Saxony and its mints at the Battle of Lobositz. The King of Saxony, Frederick Augustus II, was also the King of Poland. His mints produced low-denomination coins, and the Polish economy depended on these issues. Exporting Saxon timphs of 8 groschens to Poland had already been a profitable business prior to the 7 Years' War. Now it became even more lucrative, because Frederick allowed these timphs to be minted according to a constantly reduced weight standard. To make people believe they held an old Saxon silver coin in their hands, Vital Ephraim ordered these coins to feature the portrait of the Saxon king Frederick Augustus and an earlier year. In other words, the Prussian king covered up the fact that forgeries were produced in his mints. Although these coins claim to have been struck in 1753 by the Leipzig mint master Ernst Dietrich Kroll, they were minted between 1757 and 1762 in many Prussian mints and continued to be produced until nobody could be fooled anymore. The Dresden Mint mainly produced Mariengroschens of a reduced weight standard. The proceeds made from the fraud were used to cover part of the war costs. Another part was financed by means of subsidies. The British government, led by William Pitt and allied to Prussia, contributed gold worth 4 million Reichsthalers every year between 1758 and 1761. 4 million Reichsthalers equaled to 4,560 kilos of fine gold. This could have been used to produce Friedrichsdor worth 3,412,500 Reichsthalers before the war. But here too, Frederick chose a fraudulent approach. He had the gold alloyed with copper to lower the fineness to 8 carats or 319 of 1,000. Thus, he produced poor gold coins equaling to 10,765,865 Reichsthalers that had to be accepted at a mandatory rate of 5 Reichsthalers. These coins also claim to be Saxon issues. While Great Britain, Portugal and Brunswick fought on the side of Prussia, the Habsburgs were supported by France, Russia, Sweden, Spain and Saxony, and every ruler had their own agenda. Elizabeth I of Russia, for instance, planned to conquer East Prussia in order to later make a deal with Poland to exchange the Duchy of Courland for it. In fact, on 12 August 1759, at the Battle of Kunersdorf, Elizabeth succeeded in enforcing the invasion of East Prussia. If she had wanted to, Russian troops could have occupied Berlin after this devastating battle. This Russian medal commemorates Elizabeth's victory. To be able to exchange East Prussia for Courland, Elizabeth had to make sure the territory remained economically attractive. Thus, she had to restore the monetary system. That's why the Russians started in 1759 to mint coins in Königsberg. They produced denominations that were known in East Prussia, such as this 18 groschens piece of 1759. The obverse depicts the half-length portrait of the Tsarina with an inscription written not in Russian but in Latin letters. The reverse is occupied by the Prussian eagle. Elizabeth's coins are similar to those that were minted by Frederick. There were not only coins of 18 groschens, but also of 6 groschens, 3 groschens, 2 groschens, 1 groschen, and shillings. Russian coins quickly disappeared from circulation due to their high silver content. The Königsberg Mint could not keep up with their issues. That's why Elizabeth had additional coins such as this one produced in Moscow. Frederick took advantage of the popularity of Russian issues for East Prussia in order to have profitable forgeries produced. You can identify them by the altered circumscription. On Russian originals, it ends in Rus. On Prussian forgeries, in Russie. Of course, all these coin manipulations did not go unnoticed. The people's rage grew. In Aurich, they stormed the house of Arend Heimann, who ran the mint for Ephraim. He was also the reason for the abusive German nickname of poor Mariengroschens from Aurich, Haimännchen. They were worth only a third of their pre-war value. And then Elizabeth I died on 5 January 1762. Peter III took over. He was an ardent admirer of Frederick. Therefore, with a single stroke of the pen, he renounced everything his aunt had fought for. Peter made peace with Frederick and saved Prussia. and Prussia was able to obtain favorable terms in the Peace of Hubertusburg on 15 February 1763. This medal commemorates the peace. It depicts the Saxon Hubertusburg castle near Leipzig, where the negotiations were held. Above it, Hoover's farmer, as messenger of peace. Germania pacified is the inscription on the reverse. What this meant is not only illustrated by the personification with a wheat ear, there is also a farmer in the background, cultivating his land. The people no longer had to suffer hunger, a hunger that could not even be satisfied by Frederick's potatoes. On the very day the Peace of Hubertusburg was signed, Frederick is said to have started to withdraw the infamous coins, as he called them. As a first step, the coin entrepreneurs were ordered to mint coins according to the weight standard that had been set in 1759. On 1st June 1764, Frederick returned to the pre-war order. All coins were again minted according to the Graumann weight standard, which determined that 14 thalers were produced from 1 Cologne mark of silver. Moreover, the state again assumed the responsibility for coin production. Frederick II had won the 7 Years' War, rather economically than militarily. At the end of the war, coins worth almost 23 million Reichsthalers were kept in Prussia's treasury. Austria and France, on the other hand, had accumulated such high debts that national bankruptcy could no longer be avoided. We at Auction House Künker would be glad if we made you a little bit curious about the Tesmer collection with this episode from Prussian history. We would be delighted if you participated in our fall auction sales from 25 September to 1st October 2021. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact us.